Hello, Facebook world. It's 10:20 p.m. on a Monday. What does anybody else have to be doing? Well, Facebook Live, I guess. So, I just want to tell you that I had intended on doing this, probably 12 hours ago. But sometimes the day kind of gets away from us. We don't know that a child has a choir concert and that the husband has plans in the evening, and then everything happens and I decide, you know what? I said I was going to do it on Monday. It's almost 10:30 and I'm going to do it anyways. So, for those of you waking up in the morning, you'll have a nice thing in your news feed that you can watch this Facebook Live replay and learn about insulin and ghrelin and leptin. And if it's really bad, I'll just delete it. So you won't even see it anyways. So I'm so glad to be here. And I hope that you guys learned some stuff on Saturday's Facebook Live. I would love for you to head over to my website and grab that freebie PDF that I made, hemscoach.com/quick start guide. And if you come into the Facebook Live, make sure you say hello to me so that I know somebody's watching. And I would love to interact. So leave me some comments, ask me some questions. I would love for you to be here. So as a reminder, the number one reason why we're overweight is because we're overeating. We're eating more food than our body requires for fuel. So there are three reasons why we overeat. We overeat because of overhunger, over desire, and our emotions. So today I am going to talk to you guys about overhunger, and tomorrow, hopefully not at 10:30 p.m. Central Time, I will talk about over desire. And then on Wednesday, we will talk about emotions, which I hope that you all join me for because it's going to be amazing. Everybody loves to talk about their emotions. So let's get into it. So overhunger is caused by three main hormones. Now, there's lots of hormones that play into this, but there are three that are fairly important that I like to talk about. And let me, again, quick disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you any medical advice. These are just my opinions. If you have type 1 diabetes, this does not apply to you. None of this does. So please don't watch it. Go do something else. Most of the research that I have done, the reading that I've done on all of this, right, just from Google, one of a book that I recommend to all my clients and anybody who's interested in losing weight is The Obesity Code by Dr. Jason Fung. He is an endocrinologist and he is amazing. So, oh, hi, Ginger. Isn't it late down there in Texas? If that's where you are, same time here. So I want to talk to you first about insulin. Now, let me back up. So when I found life coaching about 5 years ago, and then I learned about weight loss coaching, I heard my coach talking about overhunger. And then I heard her talk about insulin, ghrelin, and leptin, and like my brain exploded. I thought, I have been trying to lose weight for 20 years. Not quite 20 years, but I've been trying to lose weight a lot. I've done every diet out there. How come I never heard about insulin and how it relates to my body weight? This was very confusing to me. So this is why I immediately loved what she was teaching. And I kind of all of a sudden was like, oh my gosh, I have to teach this to absolutely everybody that I know. So if you're in the medical field, we know a fair amount about insulin, right? It's an essential hormone that controls blood sugar. But what I didn't know, and maybe you don't know, is that insulin is a fat storage hormone. So it stores the fat and then it really wants to hold on to the fat. This is a problem. So when we have an elevated insulin, we are in what's called a fat storing state. When we have a low insulin, we are in a fat burning state. Now, if you want to lose weight, we want to be in the fat burning state more often. So guess what? Lack of sleep also increases our insulin and makes us less sensitive to insulin. Hello, EMS. Welcome to EMS. You will never sleep normal again, right? This all kind of makes sense, right? So exercise is another thing that helps us use insulin the way it's meant to be, but a lot of us don't get a lot of exercise when we work this job because we're so tired. We have crazy work schedules. So one of the other things that I kind of like to mention is there's insulin sensitivity, which we want to be insulin sensitive. So we want our insulin to do what it's supposed to do. That's the medical terminology for it. And then there's insulin resistance, which is kind of the precursor to type 2 diabetes. So when I'm talking about increasing insulin sensitivity, that's where we want to eat foods that raise our insulin the least. Yeah, so here is the list of foods that raise insulin the highest, which is sugar, and then flour, grains, fruits, veggies, protein, and fat. Did you know that fat does not cause an insulin release? I didn't know that. And I grew up in the 80s, and I was told that we need to eat a low-fat diet, we need to eat a high-carb diet, and that we should be eating every couple of hours, right? Who here has done that? My brain thought that was the most amazing idea ever, right? What? I get to eat 6 meals per day? Yes. Oh, that was bad. Because what happens is then our insulin is elevated all day long. Every single time we eat, our insulin goes up. And that's what the body is meant to do, right? It's what it's designed for. However, when we're eating every couple of hours and we're eating a lot of sugar and flour and bread, and when I'm talking grains here, friends, I'm talking about quinoa, rice, wild rice, stuff like that, okay? I'm not talking about whole grain bread. That's flour. So when we're eating every couple of hours, our insulin is elevated all day long. You are constantly in a fat storing state. That is not where we want to be. So for the normal people of the world, when they go to bed, right, then their insulin finally gets to go low. And then their body uses their stored fat as fuel. Now, like I said earlier, welcome to EMS. You're never going to sleep normal again. I'm on nights right now for the month of December. So my sleep is disastrous. And I have to pay very close attention to getting good sleep because here's another little tidbit of information. When we're tired, we are hungrier. We release more ghrelin, which I'm going to talk about that hormone next, but it all starts to make sense, right? We have these crazy jobs. We're overstressed. We're overtired. We don't get enough sleep, and we eat when we're not hungry because we're worried about getting hungry. We're worried about when we're going to eat next. And so we eat when we're not hungry all the time. Just terrible advice. So let me look at my notes here to make sure I'm not forgetting anything about insulin. No, I'm not. So if anybody has any questions about that, let me know. So we want to so what I'm going to first teach you is just kind of this little bit about insulin. But what we want to do is we want to try to keep our insulin low. And how do we do that? Well, there's a couple of things that I suggest. Number one is that there's no snacking. If you're an adult and you have weight to lose, you do not need a snack. You do not need a bag of almonds. You have predefined snacks already on your body, like your fat, like your muffin top or your bat wings or your thighs, right? You do not need to eat snacks every single time you eat, even if it's a bite. Your pancreas sees that, okay? You do not need a snack. Every time you eat, your insulin goes up, then we're in fat storage mode. That's not where we want to be. So The other thing you can do is no snacking, and then you only want to eat 3 meals per day. For some of us, myself included, and most of my clients, we only eat 2 meals per day because we do some intermittent fasting, which is brilliant for our industry. And I'll talk about that on another Facebook Live. But for right now, the best thing that you can do is to only eat 3 meals per day and really eliminate your snacking. I know that's kind of a bummer, but that's the way it goes if you want to lose weight. Okay, so let's see. I have the most annoying habit too, by the way. I'm really working on it. I go back and watch all of these and edit these, and I say so all the time. And I got to work on that. I'm not the greatest at this live business or working this situation here. There we go. All right. So the next 2 hormones that I want to talk about are ghrelin and leptin. This is really busy. Sorry about that. I got a little carried away. So ghrelin is considered our hunger hormone. I remember it like grrr, like my stomach's growling, ghrelin. So this is the hormone that is secreted by our gut, and it lets our brain know that it's time to eat. Now, there's some interesting things about ghrelin. It also is affected by our sleep-wake cycle. So when we are tired, we produce more ghrelin, and we use that as a way to help us stay awake. This is why there's treats and snacks like in the emergency departments all night long, right? They want us to stay awake. The best way to help keep us awake is like feeding us sugar and flour, get us kind of all jacked up on that, and that is not good either, by the way. So there's a lot of different theories on how ghrelin is related to making us feel hungry. Now, it is kind of habitual. So like if you normally eat every day at like 8, 10, noon, 4, 6, whatever regular times you eat, your ghrelin will get adapted to that and will automatically release at those times. So that is something to be aware of. That's why a lot of us will wake up and we're really hungry because we always eat breakfast when we get up. But that doesn't necessarily mean your body needs that energy and that you need to give it food. So ghrelin also, it increases just before the meal. Does that make sense? So like you start to produce ghrelin and then you start to feel hungry. You can also induce the ghrelin production by like if you smell something, right? Like if you go to a store and they're like making fresh baked cookies, all of a sudden you have like your mouth starts to water and you feel a little hunger pang and you're like, oh, look, see, I'm hungry. I should probably have that cookie. But you really don't need the cookie, right? So ghrelin lets us know when we're hungry. This is how the body is meant to work. The stomach is empty. It releases ghrelin, sends the signal to the brain, and then we eat. So then the ghrelin stops production, and then comes leptin. And leptin is our fullness hormone. This one is secreted by our fat cells. So we're eating, then the fat cells send the signal to the brain that say, whoa, put on the brakes, sister, you've had enough. Time to slow your roll. So then we stop eating, the ghrelin goes down, the leptin goes up. This is how it's supposed to work. Unfortunately, when we have chronically elevated insulin, i.e. when we're eating all day long, we become insulin resistant. Most people who are overweight have varying degrees of insulin resistance. And here's the part that is completely nuts. When we have insulin resistance, it blocks the leptin signal in our brain. So you can't even tell when you're full. Isn't that nuts to think about? I think about this for myself. Like, how did I ever know when to stop eating? Right? It's like you feel physically full or you eat all the food on your plate. Like that was the signal that I used. But the only reason why I wasn't actually feeling the sensation of satiety or being satisfied is because insulin was blocking the signal in my brain. There's also a thing called leptin resistance, which is very similar to insulin resistance. It's like the body is secreting leptin, the fat cells are secreting the leptin, and you would think that we would stop eating, but the message isn't getting to the brain. The number one thing that causes leptin resistance is high fructose corn syrup, which, by the way, is in everything processed. I mean, it's not in an apple or anything like that, but you know what it is in is like gummy supplements, vitamins, children's Tylenol and Advil has high fructose corn syrup, let alone like fruit juices, soda, stuff like that. It is really hard for the liver to process high fructose corn syrup as well. It's just a terrible thing, and you for sure kind of want to stay away from it, even though the advertisements say that it's just another form of sugar, right? Thanks, advertising. That's just pure nonsense. So this hunger and fullness scale, this is part of the weight loss basics that I teach. So if you recall what those are, I have to look over okay. I have them written down. So the weight loss basics are, you have a 24-hour plan, or you plan your food ahead of time. You eat on the hunger scale from -2 to +2. Now this is if you're eating 3 meals per day. For me, I eat at -4 and I stop, but about a +4 or a +3. That's if you're eating 2 meals per day. So follow the hunger scale, eat -2 to +2, and then leave 2 bites behind. Drink water, 80 to 128 ounces of water. Move your body every single day, and then protect and prioritize your sleep. So the hunger scale, so over here on this side is the minus side, or the hunger side, and this is the side where the ghrelin is, right? And then in the middle is neutral. And then over here on this side is the fullness side. The +10 is like the most full you've ever felt, right? And this is where kind of the leptin side. I thought, oh, it's interesting to see how those two kind of balance each other out a little bit, right? Can you see that? So when we're overweight, we have really high levels of ghrelin because we're hungry all the time, right? Do you feel that? Like when we get hangry, right? That is not true hunger, friends. That is like emotional hunger with the addition of like too much ghrelin and withdrawal from sugar and flour. That's what hangry really is. It's not true hunger. Our bodies become very accustomed to eating every like 2 hours or so, or whatever nonsense that we've been told, right? Eat snacks all the time. Our bodies get really used to that sugar feeling all the time. And it's like, oh, well, we prefer to have this way of eating, just getting food easily digestible, quick carbs, quick sugar. The body starts to prefer that. And then when the glucose starts to go down, because, right, the insulin is opening up the cells, it's putting it where it needs to go, storing all the excess fat, then we start to feel like crap, right? Get a little dizzy, you get a headache, you might get a little nauseous, and you might think, oh my God, like something is really terribly wrong with me. Like people that aren't in the medical world say like, well, I'm hypoglycemic. And if you don't have diabetes, you are not. There have been times when I have felt those feelings, or I have had a really long fast and I've checked my blood sugar. Guess what? It's like 65. Like I'm not hypoglycemic. So just know, like that feeling of crap, like that is your body's way of like sending in like, oh, we need to get food immediately. I need a snack. Because that's what it wants to do, but you really don't need one. That's the withdrawal feeling. So this is something that we kind of have to overcome when we're starting to lose weight, is that we have to learn how to feel hunger and that it's not an emergency. We in EMS, in HEMS, know what emergencies are. It's not hunger, it's not one of them. Might feel like it, but it's not. True hunger does not feel bad. It doesn't feel like urgent. Just comes and goes. So when we are at our ideal body weight, though, our ghrelin is low and our leptin is really high. So that is Over hunger, very simplified, right? The most important hormone that you have to know about is insulin. Honestly, like I can't believe I never knew that. Maybe I'm like wrong, although I don't think that I am. I don't think most people know that eating all the time increases the insulin, makes us store more fat, and then that's how we gain weight. And this is the problem in our industry, right? Is that we eat when we're not hungry, we don't get enough sleep, we have no idea how to manage our stress. I mean, we're starting to learn these things now, better ways to cope with our stress. But most of us use food and alcohol as the number one way to cope with our stress. And then we have net negative consequences on the other side of that, right? Which is weight gain. We don't learn how to properly sleep. We don't make it a priority in our life. So this is kind of my mission, is to just give everybody all this information, let you know, like, when you have this awareness, then you can really notice it in your own body, and then you get to decide if you want to fix it. So there you have it. I feel like I kind of was all over the place on this one. It must be because I'm really tired, which I am very tired. But I'm so glad that there are some people here. That was so fun. Thanks for joining. If you have any questions, for sure, like, ask me. I would love to answer some live questions. That's kind of fun. Let me see what, okay, I had to make sure I didn't have another slide. I called this a slide. This is paper. Oh my gosh, I'm such a goofball. All right, everybody, I will be back tomorrow, and hopefully not at 10 p.m. We're going to talk about over desire, which is super fun. And like, I didn't know about that either. I must have just been really focused on other things instead of learning about this stuff when I was trying to lose weight. So I hope that you all have an amazing evening. Thanks for being here. If you catch the replay, like, of course, say hello. I see all the messages. So, all right, I'm going to go to bed. Bye, everybody.